It may feel like ancient history, but just 3 years ago, Dario Saric was the starting power forward for a second-round playoff team. He averaged close to 15, 7, and 3 for the Process Sixers as a sophomore, making him one of the more intriguing prospects in the NBA at the time. Little did we know that, to this day, at least in the minds of most NBA fans, that season would still stand out as the peak of his career. But this is not a sad video, and in memoriam to some middling role player who burned out after a cup of coffee in the league. This is a redemption story about one of the most refreshing ways in which an NBA player has reinvented himself in pursuit of a brighter future. In case you guys are new to the channel, my name is Sam, and I'm one of the hosts of the Timeline podcast. Today we're talking extensively about Dario Saric and the new role he has as the Suns' backup center, a role in which he is objectively flourishing. Before we get there, we need to make a quick trip to the time machine. November 2018, just a few weeks into a fresh Corona-less NBA season, was when Saric got moved from Philly to Minnesota as part of the Jimmy Butler trade. This would prove to be the first real test of what type of future he might have in the NBA. It was well known that Saric carried the expectation of wanting to start in Minnesota, but Wolves coaches Tom Thibodeau and Ryan Saunders clearly didn't feel the same way. Saric started just 28 games that season and played a career-low 24 minutes per game. When he did play, he was frequently pigeonholed into the offense as a stretch four, and he lamented in interviews that he wished he could play more like they do overseas, where the ball is shared more equitably across all 5 positions. So when Saric arrived in Phoenix in the summer of 2019, his stock was at an all-time low. It felt possible that if he didn't sort out a new role soon, he might return home to be a superstar in Europe, rather than a role player in the NBA. And things didn't get any better for Saric in the opening months of his Suns' tenure. He continued to play power forward, serving as a cog in the offense, but not really standing out as a critical piece in any given game. Finally, the bubble happened, and the Suns stumbled upon something magic that seems to have revitalized Dario Saric's career.
Here's Saric, he can fire from there, and bury. Saric kicks it to Saric, corner 3 on the way, and loads it up.
Since the bubble, both during that undefeated 8-game stretch and in the regular season today, Dario Saric has been a center. No, he is not the starter that he dreamed of being in Philly, Minnesota, and even Phoenix, but he's bought into a smaller yet vital role. A role that has not only made the Suns better, but has given Saric something he's always coveted in the United States, and that's ample time with the ball in his hands. Since becoming a head coach of the Phoenix Suns, Monty Williams has stressed the importance of what he calls a 0.5 offense. The idea being that within half a second of catching the ball, each player on the floor should elect to pass, dribble, or shoot for a more free-flowing, team-oriented approach. It's how the Suns led the league in assists last season, but there's one problem. A lot of bigs in the NBA, including some on the Suns roster, struggle with the dribble and shoot part of 0.5. When they catch the ball in the high post, they freeze up and hesitate until they can pawn the ball off to a guard and set another screen. With Dario at the 5, Monty Williams can execute 0.5 to the highest degree. He has successfully maximized the number of players on the court who can pass and dribble and shoot, thereby giving him the most versatile offense possible. Thus, when Saric comes off the bench, he has the unique ability to operate as a sort of center of gravity, whether that's from the top of the key, the high post, or even the low post. It's a heliocentric approach, and Saric becomes the ultimate Sun, either leveraging his dribbling to get by slower, plodding bigs, or else using his high IQ to find the right cutter after a variety of screens and misdirection. The Suns are now 15-4 since Saric took on this role almost full-time, and Dario's individual stats have not suffered for it. Since the bubble, he's averaging 12.8 points, 6.2 rebounds, 1.4 assists per game on 66% true shooting. That is otherworldly shooting efficiency, and because of his decreased minutes, it also comes out to over 21 points, over 10 rebounds, and 2.5 assists per 36 minutes. The benefits of playing Saric at the 5 are obvious, as you can get faster and more versatile with higher quality playmaking and shooting. The critical question then is, can Saric be good enough at all of the physical elements of being a center to survive there long term? So far, he has 100% risen to that challenge. Saric is undoubtedly strong with a tremendously solid lower base. You can see this a lot in his post-up game, which has been even more frequently used since his role changed. Saric finished in the 83rd percentile in post efficiency last season, and he's become a certified pump fake maestro. A guy like him who can barely jump over a basketball, the only way he survives in the low post is by leveraging his smarts. If he goes straight up with the ball, he'll get swatted, but he knows just the right time to tantalize the defense, offering up a tiny bit of bait and then going for the kill on the bite. Not only does he score a lot this way, but he draws contact to get to the free throw line as well. And while Saric will never be the type of rebounding prodigy that DeAndre Ayton is, he does an incredible job of corralling boards for a guy with just a 6'10" wingspan. On the defensive glass, he uses that big butt of his to box out, and once he has the ball in his hands, he knows that it's go time. Unlike a lot of other bigs, he wastes no time starting the break, sometimes even chucking the ball down the floor for an immediate assist. He's also not afraid to dribble up the floor himself in hopes of initiating some quick action. But then there's defense. And this is an entirely different challenge in the NBA, as centers are expected to anchor everything on that end. Monty Williams knows this, and he also knows that Saric is too athletically limited to ever be a true defensive anchor. Somehow, that hasn't stopped the Suns from sporting an incredible 96.0 defensive rating with Saric on the floor this year. Some of that is small sample size luck and will likely regress going forward, but in general, the Suns are simply asking Dario not to do too much on the defensive end. In order to prevent him getting torn up by quick guards, he stays far below the level of screens, dropping back in a more conservative approach. And as long as he has that space in front of him, he can do a fairly good job of moving his feet and, most importantly, staying vertical with the contest at the rim. Again, while Dario isn't long enough to block a lot of shots, he is strong enough to absorb contact without fouling, and that has helped him tremendously with playing the 5. Offenses are going to keep challenging Dario at the rim because they see any smaller, frumpy-looking white guy as a weakness to be exploited. But Saric is proving that even if he isn't on the level of Ayton, he's not going to get pushed around so easily. As long as he continues to maintain that professional focus and places an emphasis on solid contests and defensive rebounding, Phoenix can have at least an average defense with Saric on the court. Given how amazing he makes their offense, that's more than enough. So there you have it. Not only is Dario Saric playing the 5, but he's good at it. After several years trying to get here, he has found a niche in which he can excel in the most competitive basketball league in the world. But frankly, this isn't just a story about Dario Saric. This is about a man potentially on the cusp of another revolution in the NBA who is paving the way for tweeners everywhere. NBA GMs are going to keep drafting 7-foot big man because you can't deny the potential of prospects with such amazing physical tools. But increasingly we are seeing if you're 7 feet tall and have no feel for the game, your career will be short-lived in the NBA. On the contrary, guys who can shoot, guys who can dribble, guys who know how to create offense not only for themselves but for others, it doesn't matter if they're 6'10", 6'9", or 6'6". If you can do all of those things and still man up enough to provide some rebounding and defensive presence, then you can play center, and you can have a long, fruitful career doing it. Saric may be one of the first, but he certainly won't be the last. That's all for today, guys. As always, please subscribe to this channel if you like the content, and share it too. Share it on the internet, share it with a friend, share it so that we can justify making more Suns analysis videos just like this one. And just one more reminder that my partner Mike and I operate a Suns podcast that releases every single week, just not directly on this YouTube channel. I will be sure to drop a link to that in the description, but you can also find it simply by searching for the timeline of Phoenix Suns podcast in your Spotify or Apple Podcasts app. Thank you, as always, for making it this far, and until next time.